It is exactly 9:42 news and views on Salam Media. Our next guest is Ruse Moleshe, Ms. Ruse Moleshe, to talk to us about the situation of blackouts. It's 2024, and we're going to be looking at the load shedding outlook regarding South Africa. So let's hear what Ruse Moleshe has to say about the situation. Electricity Minister Ramokgopa has conceded he can't predict the load shedding outlook this year due to Eskom's unreliable generating fleet. So surely that is an issue that needs to be addressed by them. Or is this all about rocket science? I don't know. Your thoughts. A very good morning, Ruse Moleshe. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you indeed. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah. I don't know. The minister should have never given an impression that he could predict what would happen in the system, mainly because we have load shedding, because our supply is unable to meet demand, and we haven't had any significant additional capacity to increase that supply. Instead, we have relied on use of diesel and other interim interventions. So as we continue to try and improve the Eskom power plants and the Eskom fleet, we still have to do maintenance to make sure that there's reliability in the future. So without an additional capacity to be able to provide the buffer when we do the maintenance, we are unlikely to be able to have reliable supply.
Okay, for the first time in a long while, I'm hearing someone making some sense of the situation we find ourselves in, and that is just being simply put as supply can't meet demand. That also indicates that government or the Minister of the SOEs has failed us, because this should have been planned way back in advance, predicting that the population's growing, demands are going to be high on electricity and energy. And for the country to grow, we need energy, we need a reliable energy supply. So, because government has failed us in this respect, where to from here then? Lots of promises and reassurances have been made in the past, but we do know to absolutely no avail. People who can afford solar systems and alternative sources of energy are having to dig into their pockets and, going for the alternatives. Sadly, for the rest of perhaps 60% of the population, they can't afford it. So they're living from, I'd say, hour to hour, minute to minute, and trying to navigate their lives around this very hopeless situation.
Sadly, that is the case. And we have had a number of so-called interventions from what the president said and appointing the electricity minister. But if you look at them closely, you will see, for instance, one of the solutions was to improve the Eskom fleet. As I said earlier on, you can see some improvement. However, as you are improving, you are increasing maintenance. So that sort of cancels itself out. We are supposed to have regional supply coming from some regional sources. We haven't made much inroads with respect to that. And we are supposed to have some of the capacity from independent power producers, but we have issues with transmission infrastructure, which is not sufficient to be able to transmit that power to where it's supposed to be. So as far as alternatives are concerned, yes, there are people who can afford, who put in supply to cushion themselves during load shedding. But these are not interventions that will replace Eskom requirements. They will just meet interventions during a period when they are experiencing load shedding, so that the impact is not that bad. And as you correctly point out, those who cannot afford it are simply at the mercy of load shedding. And we have also suppressed demand. Let's not forget that, because some industries cannot go without having assurance of reliable supply. So it is really an undesirable situation, and we don't seem to have a credible plan around the table with credible timelines. That is why the minister is telling us that he cannot predict what will happen.
So, what's the point in even having him in that position? What about energy experts like yourself and a whole host of other people who do have the expertise? Should you guys not come around a table and map out a plan, submit it to government, and let us come? Let's put an end to our energy woes here in the country.
What is required is additional capacity, so that it provides a reserve margin for Eskom to be able to try and maintenance and try and get back the capacity that is currently not in operation. So without that, no additional ministers or additional advisors are required. It's just a question of the will to implement what is required. Because again, we're relying on diesel, which diesel is expensive as well. So we need additional capacity to be able to buffer all of this. And that is not on the table. The car power ship was one of the interventions that had been put in place. But as you would have seen in the media recently, that is in terms of transmission access from Eskom, that is no longer available. So that option is also not on the table right now.
Where and how do we move forward regarding this matter?
That's a good question, because I don't think anyone has a real answer. The real answer is to make sure that government provides additional capacity. And it will take time to be able to do that because of the transmission infrastructure that is also lacking to be able to take that power and to where it's supposed to be. So that is, unfortunately, a question of time that is still required to be able to plan sufficiently. I don't even know if that's happening right now.
Well, I must say that leaves us on a note of gloominess. It's not very promising at all. I guess it's really a wait and see attitude, wait and see how we move forward.
Yes, I think if I were to be a little bit more optimistic, like the Quebec extension of the life of Quebec, which are supposed to come back on stream, will help to an extent, such that we have at least relatively lower stages of load shedding. So those are things to look out for as they keep on bringing back new units. That will help to mitigate a little bit.
That's where we leave it, and we will be keeping a close eye on the story if the electricity permits us to do so. If there ain't any lights, we won't be able to keep our eye on the story. I say that tongue in cheek, of course, just hoping and praying for a more positive outcome. Miss, all right, I've just lost your name on the screen, so do forgive me. I'm just trying to find your name again. I want to be respectful to you. So thank you indeed for being with us on the show. And as I've indicated, we will keep our eye on the situation, have many more discussions in the future. Okay, and there I see your name. It is Ruse Moleshe. Thank you indeed for your time.
Thank you. Bye.